Yo, what is up guys, welcome to a new video. As you might know, or as you read in the title, Ozone 9 got released and today I want to review it. I want to show you the new features, how it looks like and if it's worth it or not. And well, as you probably know, ADE is this week and I have to pack everything because I'm going to be there. Well, if you're watching this video when it's out, I'm already coming back from ADE. So I have to make this video really fast because I have to prepare everything and go to Amsterdam. So with that being said, don't forget to give a like, subscribe, and let's start with this review. So here we have Ozone 9 where you just loaded, and if you had Ozone 8, you can see that this is a bit more minimalistic, but actually the plugin looks like the same. The difference is in the equalizer, not in the plugin itself. So if we open Ozone 8, as you can see, this is the same. The thing is that it changes just this here, and we had before this info here. If you wanted to add some band, you had to click here, you couldn't do it from this view. You just move some of the bands, but you cannot add new bands. But now on Ozone 9 you can click and you add a new one. The max is the same, 8 bands, and well, if you want to see some info, you just click here and you have that. But actually what's new in this Ozone 9? If we click here, we can see the models, and all of them are basically the same as in Ozone 8, but these three here. So these new ones, Low End Focus, Master Rebalance, and Magic Q are the new ones. Well, actually Magic Q is not new, but it was inside the equalizer. If you have seen my tutorials, you know that I like to reference a lot and use the Ozone equalizer to match EQ with other tracks or with the stems. So in the Ozone equalizer back then you had to click on matching and here you capture, and then the good thing was that you also could touch a bit the EQ. Now what they did is just separate it into a new model, and you also can load it here and you have it in this model. And it's not only that they separated from the EQ, they added these bands here, and this is super cool. Here I have my song Evolution, and now the Tricks and Atmospheres What About Us, and what I'm gonna do is just show you how this new Magic EQ works. I'm just gonna mute it so I don't have any copyright problems. We click on capture, we play the song, and what it's gonna do, as I said a lot of time, is gonna get the average frequency values. It's enough. And now we play our song and we do the same here, and what it's gonna do is just match both frequencies, match both EQs to make them be the same. And now here with the smoothing and the mode, what you can do is just increase it or decrease it. And the problem is that when you match your song or a wave song with an MP3, is that MP3 has a high cut on 15,000 hertz, and as you can see here, decreases. So the Magic Key, what it's doing is just decreasing there, but actually you didn't want this, because if you could match your song with that song but in wave, you wouldn't have this decrease. So with this Magic Key, what they did is at these regions, as you can see, it's not affecting there, and also you can do it on the lows, or just if you want just the highs or something like this. And I think that's so cool because now you don't have this dip here that actually you shouldn't have. But let's go into the new features that it's Low End Focus and Master Rebalance. And for these things, what I think Ozone thought is about the mastering engineers. It's so common that when you send a song to a mastering engineer, or somebody sends a song to me to master a song, when I hear some problems, I have to tell the producer to solve those problems, like the kick is too loud, the vocal is too quiet, or something like this. And then when the producer solves those problems, send it back and I can master. Of course, if you just produce your song and master your songs, there's not really a big problem. But when it happens is that you send it to somebody else, sometimes can happen this. So Ozone thought about this problem, and what decided to do is add two new models that can solve some of the mixdown problems. So if we start with the Low End Focus, what this is going to do is help on the low end to add more punch or less punch. So imagine that you have a track with a lot of punch, you want to decrease it, or if the kick needs to be harder, you can increase it. Here I have my song Take You, and what I'm going to do is put it here on the drop so we can hear the kick, and I'm going to show you how this works. And to help you to hear it a bit better, I'm going to add a filter so you can only hear the low end. And now the song sounds like this. So what if we put it to the max to add more punch? As you can see, we have more punch on the kick. Of course, it's too much, so what is also happening is that the bass is decreasing. And if we do it to the opposite, so what it's doing is reducing the punch of the kick, and it seems like the bass is louder, but because of the kick is quieter, Or for example, if we take it with my song Zenith, you can see that if you add too much, it's like it's adding more sidechain to the bass. So how can you solve that? If you want a lot of punch but you don't want to have this effect on the bass, then you have to use a smooth. If you use a smooth, as you can see here, the response is lower and it's not gonna affect that much to the bass. As you can see, the bass is kind of the same. If we bypass, we have more punch in the bass, but we don't have that bad sidechain in the bass line. And what about the master rebalance? Well, the master rebalance, in my opinion, is a really awesome thing they created. And what this does is that you can increase the vocals, the bass, or the drums of the song without increasing the rest. Imagine that you're mastering your song or somebody else's song, and the vocal is too quiet. What you have to do, if you increase the mids or the mid highs for the vocal, you're gonna be increasing the rest. You're gonna be increasing the guitar, the bass, the piano, or whatever. So at the end, the balance is the same and the vocal doesn't seem louder. So you have to come back to the mix down and increase the vocal. But now with this plugin, you can solve that. It's only gonna increase the vocal. Let me show you. To show you this, I'm gonna use again Take You. So if I increase this to the max, you're gonna hear that the vocal is louder, but not the rest of the things. So this was before, and this is after. As you can see, it only increases the vocal. And maybe you're thinking, oh, it's increasing a bit of the rest. Yeah, maybe it's increasing a bit of the rest of the sounds, but basically the vocal. And if we check it with evolution on the drop, for example, and we increase the vocals to the max, as you're gonna be able to hear, there's no difference. As you can see, as it doesn't detect the vocal, it's not increasing anything. But be careful if you use vocal chops as we use it in the drop, because then it increases the vocal. Well, and if you do it to the opposite, it decreases the vocal, of course. But what if you want to increase the bass? I thought at the beginning that this was only an EQ and increases just the low mids or the lows, but actually it's not doing that. It detects the bassline sound and increases the bassline sound. To show you this, I'm gonna get back to Zenith, and I want you to take care of the kick and the bass, because the kick is not gonna be touched. If I increase the bass to the max, this was before, and this after. And if I decrease it, as you can see, the kick is the same, but only touches the bassline. And last but not least, if you want to increase just the drums, you can click here and it's gonna do the same. I'm gonna use Take You again for this on the drop. As you can see, the drums are louder, especially in this case the snare. And if we do the opposite, it's like they are not there. And the last thing they did on Ozone 9 is touch a bit the Master Assistant, and this was a thing that mastered the song for yourself. If we go to Ozone 8 and we click Master Assistant, we can see that we have to choose a streaming CD or a reference song, and if we choose to master for a CD, we can choose low, medium, and high intensity. But what they did in Ozone 9 is first add an option to choose modern on vintage models, so it's not the normal EQ, it's the vintage EQ, normal compression is the vintage compressor, you know, and this way you have a more vintage mastering sound. Then you have to choose manual or using a reference song, and the good thing now is that it doesn't matter if you choose the manual or the reference, that you can choose the destination as streaming or CD. My advice is to go for CD because it's a bit louder than mastering. If you wait a bit, as you can see, the setting on streaming is -1 and on CD is -0.3. And of course they touched a little bit some of the models, like the imager, for as you can see, it looks a bit different. It has a new model of stereoize, but nothing really important in my opinion. So well, guys, these are the new features in Ozone 9. So now, is it worth it to update or to get it? If you are in Ozone 8, of course, it's super worth it, especially because of the magic key, at least in my opinion, and the things I normally use. About the low end focus and the mastery balance, if you're not mastering for other people, it's not really important, because at least my advice is to come back to the mixdown and solve the problems there. And if you're mastering for other people, yeah, it can work, but also, in my opinion, if you can, just tell the client to solve those problems and send it back. But what if you don't have Ozone 9? Well, in this case, yeah, it's a really expensive plugin. It's a really good plugin that also mastering engineers use, but it's super expensive. So if you just want it, for example, for the Magic Q, just try to find a free Magic Q or a cheaper one. If you want to master your song, you can use other things. If you check one of my tutorials about mastering, you can see that I normally use the Fab Filter Pro EQ. For the limiter, I use another one. So at the end, you can see that the Ozone, I just use it for the imager, for the Magic Q, and sometimes I use the Exciter or something like this. So well, guys, hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, because there are new challenges coming and new good tutorials coming, and also probably an ADE vlog. So nothing else, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.